We're Texas CASA, and we're exploring issues in the foster care system that need fixing and proposing solutions. This is The Fix.
Today I'm going to be talking about dual status youth. Now you may ask yourself, what are we talking about? Well, these are children who are involved in the Child Protective Services system who then end up with a referral into the juvenile justice system. We talk about the pipeline, if you will, between Child Protective Services and juvenile justice. Why? Because so many of these kids who have experienced removal, with a trauma that led to their removal and involvement with the Child Protective Services system, that trauma manifests a lot of times as behavior that is negative. It may be aggression. It may be bullying, which is another form of aggression. It may be stealing. It may be something that is deemed as an antisocial behavior that puts them on the radar of the juvenile court. We know that once a child starts down that trajectory, a lot of times there is no communication between Child Protective Services and the juvenile court system, which means now you have a family involved in two systems that are working in totally different directions. One is focused on the child and family, and the other one has more of a justice focus, which might lead to two separate case plans, a bunch of different requirements on the family, and of course, court time. You know, most of these families are hourly paid families, right? That's how they're employed. And we also know that a lot of times they're taking public transportation to court. And then we know that when they get to court, they're waiting for that hearing. So imagine having to do that for two separate systems. That's a lot of time. And when the systems aren't communicating, then you've got families running around at cross purposes because each is going to have an expectation of the role of the parent in the context of all that's required and the role of the child. So where does CASA come into this? The CASA volunteer can be that bridge in terms of the information between the court systems, because the CASA volunteer, as the person who is involved with best interest advocacy for the child, no matter the system, can be the one that bridges those systems, that can bring the critical information to bear in that juvenile court process, and that might actually be the linchpin in facilitating the two systems working together, bringing the child protective caseworker in contact with that juvenile probation officer or vice versa. At the end of the day, when we're talking about dual system youth and dual system involvement, juvenile probation, child protective services, that CASA role can be critical. It can be critical in creating a case plan for that child, one case plan for that child instead of two separate ones. So the coordination of a case plan, the coordination of the systems, with CASA being that linchpin in terms of creating that information pipeline, if you will, that stops the Child Protective Services to juvenile probation pipeline.
Those are my thoughts on The Fix.